The massive space station hung in the darkness like a metal city. Its lights blinked slowly as ships from dozens of worlds docked at its ports. This was Galactic Council Station Omega-7, and today would change everything for humanity. Ambassador. Do-hyun Kim adjusted his simple black suit as he walked through the station's corridors. Behind him, Colonel Taewon Park carried a small briefcase, his military uniform looking plain next to the fancy clothes worn by alien diplomats. Dr. Yoonji Lee followed quietly, her tablet showing notes about the species they would meet today. The three humans looked small and lost among the crowd of aliens. Tall blue creatures with 4 arms pushed past them without looking. Flying beings with crystal wings ignored them completely. Giant reptiles with jeweled scales acted like the humans were not even there. First time seeing so many species together, Yoonji whispered to Do-hyun. "Stay calm," Do-hyun replied softly. "Remember what we discussed." Taewon said nothing, but his eyes moved constantly, watching everything around them. His hand never moved far from his briefcase. They reached the main council chamber, and Do-hyun stopped breathing for a moment. The room was huge, bigger than any building on Earth. Hundreds of seats rose up in circles, filled with beings from across the galaxy. The air hummed with translation devices, turning alien speech into words humans could understand. A tall creature with silver skin and 3 eyes pointed to the far corner of the room. "Human delegation, your seats are there," it said in a bored voice. The 3 humans walked to their assigned place. Their seats were old and worn, clearly the worst spots in the entire chamber. Around them, aliens in expensive robes and glowing armor talked loudly, ignoring the human delegation completely. "They put us as far from the center as possible," Taewon observed quietly. "I noticed," Do-hyun said, settling into his uncomfortable chair. At the center of the chamber stood the most impressive alien Do-hyun had ever seen. This was Chancellor Thexmore of the Velthari Empire. His body looked like it was made of living metal, and energy patterns flowed across his skin like moving tattoos. When he spoke, his voice filled the entire room without effort. "The Galactic Council calls this session to order," Thexmore announced. "Today, we address the matter of the human species and their place in our civilized galaxy." Do-hyun felt his stomach tighten. He had expected this, but hearing it said so directly was different. Near the front of the chamber, a massive creature covered in red scales stood up. This was War Prime Velash of the Corvani Federation. Battle scars covered his arms, and his voice sounded like grinding stone. "The humans have been in space for barely 50 years, Velash said with obvious amusement. "Their technology is primitive. Their ships are slow and weak. Yet they dare to claim entire star systems as their own." Laughter filled the chamber. Aliens of all shapes and sizes found this hilarious. The humans sat quietly, taking the insults without reaction. "The human colony on Kepler 438b produces excellent metals," said a creature that looked like a giant insect. "We should formalize their role as suppliers for the more advanced species." "Agreed," said another alien with multiple heads. "Humans work hard and ask for little, perfect for basic manufacturing and resource extraction." Do-hyun watched as the aliens discussed humanity's future like they were talking about livestock. No one asked for human input. No one seemed to care what humans wanted. Chancellor Thexmore raised one metallic hand, and the chamber fell silent. "The Council has prepared terms for human integration into galactic society. These terms are not negotiable." A holographic display appeared above the chamber, showing documents written in dozens of alien languages. The human translation appeared on a small screen near their seats. "First," Thexmore continued, "all human worlds will pay 60% of their production to the Galactic Council as civilization tax. Second, humans will share all technological discoveries with approved Council species. Third, each human colony will accept guidance overseers to ensure proper development." Yunji gripped her tablet tighter. These terms would make humanity slaves in all but name. Fourth, the Chancellor went on, humans will provide workers for Council projects at rates determined by the Council. Fifth, human military forces will be limited to system defense only. No human ship may carry weapons capable of threatening Council vessels. HFY Velash stood again, his scarred face showing cruel amusement. These terms are generous, considering human limitations. Most species in your position receive much harsher treatment. More laughter filled the chamber. The aliens found human weakness entertaining. We understand this is a significant change for your species, said a beautiful creature with flowing energy instead of hair. But you must understand your place in the galaxy. You are new, primitive, and few in number. The established civilizations have maintained peace for thousands of years. Your role is to support this peace through service. Do-Yun stood slowly. The chamber noise died down as aliens noticed the human ambassador rising from his distant corner. Respected members of the Galactic Council, Do-Yun began, his voice carrying clearly through the translation system. I thank you for this opportunity to address such a distinguished gathering. Chancellor Thexmore's three eyes focused on Do-Hyun with obvious annoyance. Human representative, you are here to receive terms, not to speak. Of course, honored Chancellor, Do-Hyun replied with a respectful bow. I merely wish to request time to consult with my government before accepting these generous terms. The chamber erupted in shocked whispers. Several aliens laughed openly at the human's audacity. HFY Velash's voice boomed through the noise. Consult? You think you have choices in this matter? His laughter was like rocks falling down a mountain. Little human, your species controls maybe 20 worlds. The Corvani Federation alone rules 10,000 systems. The Velthari Empire spans half the galaxy. What makes you think you can negotiate with us? We do not seek to negotiate, Do-Hyun said carefully. We simply wish to ensure our people understand the full scope of these terms before acceptance. Your people will understand what they need to understand, Thexmore said coldly. The terms are final. You have 72 standard hours to implement them across all human territories. And if we require more time, Do-Hyun asked politely. The chamber fell completely silent. Even the background hum of technology seemed to quiet. There is no more time, Velash growled. Accept the terms or face economic isolation. Continue to resist and face military intervention. The choice is simple. Very simple indeed, agreed a crystalline being whose voice sounded like wind chimes. Surely even humans can understand such basic options. Do-Hyun nodded slowly. I believe we understand perfectly, honored beings. 72 hours. 72 hours, Thexmore confirmed. This session is concluded. As the aliens began filing out of the chamber, chatting excitedly about dividing human resources, the three humans sat quietly in their corner. They waited until most of the aliens had left before standing. Well, Yunji said softly, that went about as expected. Did you get everything? Do-Hyun asked Taewon. The colonel patted his briefcase gently. Every detail, defense patterns, ship configurations, personnel counts, more than enough. They walked toward the exit, just three humans in simple clothes, looking defeated and overwhelmed. Around them, aliens continued to laugh and make jokes about human stupidity. None of the aliens noticed Taewon's slight smile as they left the chamber. None of them saw Do-Hyun's eyes, cold and calculating behind his diplomatic mask. None of them paid attention to Yunji's tablet, which had been recording much more than simple notes. The humans boarded their small, slow ship and departed for Earth. Behind them, the aliens celebrated their easy victory over another primitive species. It would be their last celebration for a very long time. The human ship landed at Geneva Spaceport just as the sun was setting over the Swiss mountains. Do-Hyun Kim walked down the ramp with tired steps, followed by Colonel Taewon Park and Dr. Yoonji Lee. To anyone watching, they looked like diplomats returning from a failed mission. A black vehicle waited for them on the landing pad. The driver wore the uniform of Global Defense Command, but he said nothing as the three humans climbed inside. The car drove through the city streets in silence, past buildings that looked normal but held secrets the galaxy had never imagined. They stopped at a building that appeared to be a simple office complex. Glass windows reflected the evening lights, and a small sign read, International Development Agency. But behind those ordinary walls lay the most important room on Earth. Do-Hyun placed his hand on a hidden scanner. The elevator that opened was not marked on any building plan. It descended far deeper than the building's official blueprints showed. The elevator doors opened to reveal a massive underground chamber. Dozens of people in military uniforms and business suits filled the room. Giant screens covered the walls, showing star charts, ship designs, and intelligence reports from across the galaxy. Director Min-ho Choi stood at the center of it all. He was a small man with gray hair, but his eyes held the weight of humanity's greatest secret. Next to him stood Fleet Admiral Soyeon Kang, her uniform displaying medals that officially did not exist. "Welcome back," Min-ho said as the three entered. "I trust the meeting went as expected?" "Exactly as predicted," Do-Hyun replied, his diplomatic mask finally dropping. "They offered us slavery with pretty words." The room fell silent. Every person present had been waiting for this moment. General Hyun-woo Nam stepped forward from a group of military officers. His face was hard and scarred from battles the public had never heard about. "The terms? 60% taxation, technology sharing, oversight of all colonies, limited military, and forced labor," Taewon said, opening his briefcase and connecting a device to the room's main computer. Holographic displays activated around the chamber. The Aliens' council session played back in perfect detail. Every word, every laugh, every insult was preserved. "Arrogant fools," Admiral Soyeon said quietly. "They still think we are primitive children playing with toys." Dr. Ji-young. Yoon looked up from a console covered in equations that would have amazed alien scientists. She was younger than the others, but her mind had solved problems that had puzzled the galaxy's greatest thinkers. "The quantum tunneling drives are ready," she reported. "All ships have been fitted with the new systems. Travel time to Velthari. Space is now 6 hours instead of 6 months. "Weapon systems?" asked General Hyun-woo. "Consciousness transfer arrays are installed on all vessels," Ji-young replied. "Reality manipulation engines are online. Nanite construction swarms are standing by." The gathered humans listened to words that would have terrified the aliens who had laughed at them just hours before. Min-ho activated another display. "Intelligence report, Agent Kyu-hyun Lim." A new hologram appeared. The man speaking looked completely human, but his background showed the impossible. He stood in a Velthari government building, wearing the robes of a high minister. "Surgical modification successful," Kyu-hyun reported. "I have been serving as Minister of Colonial Affairs for 3 years. The Velthari trust me completely. All defense codes and fleet positions are confirmed." Another hologram activated. This one showed a woman in Corvani military armor. Her name was Agent Heron Bay, and she had been living among the galaxy's most warlike species for 7 years. "Corvani Federation intelligence network is compromised," Heron said. "I now control their entire spy operation. They have been reporting false information about human activities for 2 years. More agents appeared on screen, humans who had been surgically changed to look like dozens of different alien species. They held key positions in governments, militaries, and trade organizations across the galaxy. 47 years, Admiral Soyeon said to the room. 47 years of pretending to be weak while we built the greatest intelligence network the galaxy has ever seen. Director Min-ho walked to the center of the room. When the first alien ship appeared over Earth in 1978, they made a mistake. They assumed we were too primitive to understand their technology. The wall screens showed archived footage of that first contact. Alien visitors had landed openly, demonstrating their advanced ships and weapons. They had shared basic space travel, technology as a gift, to help humanity join the galactic community. They never suspected we could reverse engineer their systems, Minho continued. They never imagined we could improve on their designs. Dr. Ji-young touched her control pad. New images filled the screens. These showed human ships, but not the slow, clumsy vessels the aliens had observed. These ships were sleek and deadly, their hulls containing technology that surpassed anything in known space. Our cloaking systems are better than theirs, she explained. Our weapons are more powerful, our armor is stronger, and our computers can hack any alien system in seconds. How many ships? Asked Do-hyun. 10,000 combat vessels, Admiral Soyeon answered, each one capable of destroying an entire alien fleet. All hidden, all waiting. The numbers were staggering. While aliens believed humanity struggled to build basic space stations, humans had constructed the largest secret fleet in galactic history. General Hyunwoo activated another display. Project Trojan Horse has been in operation for 20 years. Every piece of human medical technology we shared with alien worlds contained hidden nanites. The screen showed medical facilities across the galaxy, alien hospitals, military medical centers, and government health clinics all proudly displayed human-made medical equipment. 43 species have received our medical aid, Hyunwoo continued. Their leaders, military commanders, and key officials have all been treated with our technology. The nanites are dormant but responsive to our activation signals. Dr. Yoonji spoke for the first time since returning. The nanites don't harm them. They just make movement impossible when activated. We could paralyze every major alien leader, simultaneously. Without killing them, Minho added. We are not monsters, we are not conquerors, but we will not be slaves. A new figure stepped forward from the shadows. This was Agent Dong-yun Seo, head of human intelligence operations. His face was unremarkable, the kind of person no one would remember. Perfect for a spy. Our agents report increased alien military activity, he said. They expect easy compliance from humanity. Some species are already making plans to divide our colonies among themselves. Let them plan, Admiral Soyeon said coldly. Their plans will not survive the next 72 hours. Director Minho looked around the room at the faces of humanity's secret guardians. The question before us is simple. Do we accept slavery, or do we reveal what we have truly become? What are our options? Asked Do-hyun. Dr. Ji-young activated a final display. It showed a single word. Lazarus. The Lazarus Protocol, she explained. Complete revelation of human capabilities. Simultaneous demonstration of our technology across the galaxy. Immediate neutralization of all major alien military threats. All without firing a single shot in anger, added General Hyunwoo. We show them what we can do, not what we will do. The psychological impact alone will reshape galactic politics forever, Dong-yun observed. Fear of the unknown is more powerful than fear of the known. Admiral Soyeon stepped forward. If we do this, there is no going back. The galaxy will know that humanity has been watching, planning, and preparing. We will no longer be the innocent children they can protect or exploit. We will be equals, Minho said quietly. Or perhaps something more. The room fell silent as each person considered the weight of the decision. 50 years of careful planning had led to this moment. Do-hyun looked at the screens showing alien fleets, alien worlds, and alien leaders who had no idea what was coming. How long do we have? 71 hours and 15 minutes, Admiral Soyeon replied. Then we vote, Director Minho announced. all in favor of implementing the Lazarus Protocol. Every hand in the room rose without hesitation. Motion carried, Minho said. Admiral Kang, you may begin preparations. Soyeon smiled for the first time since the meeting began. It will be my pleasure. Across the galaxy, sleeping agents received coded messages. Hidden ships powered up their engines. Secret installations activated systems that had waited decades for this moment. Humanity's children were coming home, and the galaxy would never be the same. The same small human ship docked at Galactic Council Station Omega-7 exactly 71 hours after it had departed. To the alien observers, it looked like the same slow, primitive vessel that had carried the defeated human delegation away from their first real taste of galactic politics. Ambassador Do-Hyun Kim walked down the ramp with the same tired expression he had worn before. Colonel Taewon Park followed behind him, carrying the same simple briefcase. Dr. Yoonji Lee brought up the rear, her tablet in hand, looking nervous and overwhelmed. The aliens watching them board barely paid attention. Why would they? The humans had been given an impossible choice, and everyone knew what the outcome would be. In the station's command center, Chancellor Thexamore reviewed reports from across Veltari space. His 3 eyes glowed with satisfaction as he read the latest intelligence updates. Human colonies were showing increased communication traffic, probably their leaders arguing about the inevitable surrender. War Prime Velash had brought additional ships to the station. 5 massive Corvani battleships now hung in space nearby, their weapons powered down but ready. The red-scaled warrior wanted the humans to see them when they arrived. Fear would make the surrender more complete. Other alien delegations had also grown larger. The crystalline Zephyrians had sent their trade negotiators ready to begin dividing human resources. The insect-like Kethri had brought colony administration experts. Everyone wanted their share of humanity's wealth. The 3 humans made their way through the station corridors again. This time, more aliens stopped to stare at them. Word had spread about the upcoming surrender ceremony. Some aliens pointed and whispered, others laughed openly. "Look how defeated they appear," said a floating creature with tentacles for arms. "I almost feel sorry for them." "Primitive species always struggle with reality," replied a being made of living crystal. "They will adapt to their new role in time." Doyun kept walking, his face showing nothing. Taewon remained silent, his eyes focused straight ahead. Yoonji clutched her tablet tighter, but otherwise showed no reaction to the comments. They reached the council chamber to find it more crowded than before. Word about the human surrender had spread, and dozens of species had sent representatives to witness the moment. The chamber buzzed with excited conversation in 100 different languages. The 3 humans took their seats in the far corner, just as they had before. Around them, aliens in expensive clothing and glowing jewelry discussed how to best use human labor. No one bothered to lower their voices. Why would they care if the humans heard? "I need miners for the Kepler 442 system," said a huge alien covered in metallic scales. "Humans are perfect for dangerous work. The medical technology they developed shows promise," added a creature with multiple heads. "Once they share all their research, we can improve it properly. Their ships may be slow, but the designs are solid," observed another alien. "Good for basic cargo transport between systems." At exactly the appointed time, Chancellor Thexamore called the session to order. The chamber fell silent as his metallic voice filled the space. "The Galactic Council reconvenes to receive humanity's response to our generous terms," he announced. "Human representative, please stand and deliver your government's decision." Do-Yun rose slowly from his uncomfortable seat. The chamber was completely quiet now. Every alien eye, sensor, and attention device focused on the small human in his simple black suit. "Honored members of the Galactic Council," Do-Yun began, his voice carrying clearly through the translation systems. "I have consulted with my government regarding the terms you have offered." "Offered?" War Prime Velash interrupted with a laugh. That sounded like breaking stone. You mean the terms you were given? This is not a negotiation, little human. Of course not. Respected War Prime, Do-Yun replied with a polite bow. I misspoke. Regarding the terms you have dictated to humanity. Approving murmurs filled the chamber. The aliens liked hearing humans acknowledge their place. Humanity has considered these terms very carefully, Do-Yun continued. We have discussed them with our military leaders, our scientists, our colonists, and our elected representatives. A waste of time, said the crystalline being whose voice sounded like wind chimes. But primitive species often need time to accept reality. Indeed, Do-Yun agreed, and after careful consideration, humanity must respectfully decline your offer. The words hit the chamber like a physical blow. For a moment, absolute silence filled the massive space. Then the noise began. Shocked gasps came from a dozen species. Angry shouts erupted from others. Several aliens laughed as if they had heard a wonderful joke. The sound built into a roar of disbelief and rage. Chancellor Thexmore's 3 eyes blazed with fury. You decline? You think you have a choice in this matter? We understand perfectly that we have no choice, Do-Yun replied calmly. That is exactly why we decline. War Prime Velash stood up, his massive form towering over the other aliens. Foolish humans! Do you think your tiny fleet can stand against the combined might of the galaxy? We have 1,000 ships for every one of yours. We are fully aware of your military superiority, Do-Yun said, still speaking in the same calm tone. Just as we are aware that you could destroy our colonies whenever you choose. Then why do you resist? Demanded a floating alien with energy crackling around its form. Why choose destruction over service? Because we have a counter-proposal, Do-Yun announced. The chamber erupted in laughter. The sound was deafening, coming from hundreds of different species, all finding the same thing hilariously funny. A counter-proposal? Chancellor Thexmore's voice dripped with amusement. The primitive species wants to negotiate with its betters? What could you possibly offer us? War Prime Velash asked, his scarred face twisted in a cruel smile. Your slow ships? Your basic technology? Your small numbers? We propose, Do-Yun said, waiting for the laughter to die down, that this council immediately cease all hostile actions against human space and formally recognize Earth's sovereignty over all territories currently claimed by humanity. The laughter doubled. Several aliens actually fell out of their seats from laughing so hard. The insect-like Kethri made clicking sounds that their translators rendered as hysterical amusement. Sovereignty? The crystalline Zephyrian chimed. You want us to treat you as equals? Not equals, Do-Yun corrected. We want you to treat us as what we are. And what exactly do you think you are? Chancellor Thexmore asked, his 3 eyes glowing with dangerous humor. We are humanity, Do-Yun replied simply, and we are done pretending to be something we are not. The chamber fell quiet again, but this time the silence felt different. Something in the human's tone had changed. The polite diplomat was still there, but underneath his words was something else. Something that made a few of the more intelligent aliens shift uncomfortably in their seats. War Prime Velash activated his personal communicator. All Corvani vessels, battle stations, prepare to disable the human ship. Other military commanders began giving similar orders. The time for talk was over. If the humans wanted to be destroyed, the galaxy would grant their wish. Chancellor Thexmore stood to his full height, energy patterns racing across his metallic skin. Human representative, you and your companions are now under arrest for insurrection against galactic order. Station security will escort you to detention cells while we prepare the military response to your people's foolishness. Armed aliens began moving toward the human delegation from all sides. Weapons hummed to life. Defense screens activated around the chamber. That was when Colonel Taewon Park spoke his first words since returning to the station. "Admiral," he said quietly into a small device that appeared in his hand. "You may begin." The aliens closest to the humans stopped moving. Something in the colonel's tone, or perhaps the way he had suddenly stopped looking like a nervous military aide, made them hesitate. "What did you just say?" War-Prime Velash demanded. Taewon looked up at the massive alien warrior. For the first time since arriving at the station, he smiled. "I said," Taewon repeated, speaking loud enough for the entire chamber to hear, "Admiral, you may begin." High above the chamber, lights that had never flickered before suddenly dimmed. Deep in the station's core, systems that had operated perfectly for centuries registered their first anomalies. And in space around the station, sensors that had always shown empty void began detecting something impossible. Ships were appearing where no ships had been moments before. The age of human weakness was about to end. War-Prime Velash was still reaching for his weapon when the first transmission came through every communication system in the chamber. The voice that filled the space was clear, confident, and completely human. "Attention, Galactic powers. This is Admiral So-Yeon Kang of the Human Defense Fleet." The voice paused, letting those words sink in. "For 53 years, you have observed humanity's apparent struggle to achieve basic space travel. You have dismissed us as primitive, weak, and suitable, only for exploitation." Another pause. "This was by design." Admiral So-Yeon Kang's voice filled not just the council chamber, but every communication system on the station. Her words reached the docked ships, the command centers, and the private quarters of every alien diplomat present. "For 53 years, you have observed humanity's apparent struggle to achieve basic space travel," the Admiral continued. "You have dismissed us as primitive, weak, and suitable only for exploitation. This was by design." The aliens in the chamber looked around in confusion. How was a human transmission overriding their secure communication networks? Chancellor Thexmore activated his personal controls, trying to cut off the signal. Nothing happened. "Station security, block this transmission immediately," War-Prime Velash ordered into his communicator. A Velthari technician's voice crackled back through the speakers. "Sir, we cannot locate the source. The signal is coming from everywhere and nowhere." Above the council chamber, holographic displays activated without anyone commanding them. The screens showed views of space around the station, but something was wrong with the images. Ships were appearing, not arriving from distant space, but materializing from nothing. Sleek vessels with designs unlike anything in the galactic databases flickered into existence around the station. First dozens, then hundreds, then thousands. "Impossible," whispered the crystalline Zephyrian. "Our sensors showed empty space moments ago." "Cloaking technology," Dr. Yunji said quietly from her corner seat, though calling it primitive cloaking would be unfair to the word primitive. The human scientist was no longer clutching her tablet. Nervously, she sat calmly, watching the alien reactions with scientific interest. Admiral So-Yeon's voice continued as more displays activated throughout the chamber. "What you are observing around this station is happening simultaneously at every major military installation, government center, and trade hub in known space." New images appeared on the screens. The Velthari home system, where massive human ships hung motionless around the capital world. The Corvani military headquarters, surrounded by vessels that made their greatest battleships look like children's toys. "This is not possible," Chancellor Thexmore said, his metallic voice shaking for the first time anyone could remember. "Our intelligence networks would have detected ship construction on this scale." Ambassador Do-hyun stood up from his distant corner seat. When he spoke, his voice had changed completely. Gone was the nervous diplomat. In his place stood someone who had been waiting 50 years for this moment. "Your intelligence networks," Do-hyun said with a smile, have been reporting exactly what we wanted them to report. One of the holographic displays changed to show a Velthari government building. In the center of the image stood a figure in ministerial robes. When he turned toward the camera, his face was clearly human. "Greetings, Chancellor Thexmore," the figure said. "Agent Kyu-hyun Lim reporting. I believe you know me as Minister Vexthor of Colonial Affairs." The Chancellor's three eyes widened in shock. He had worked with Minister Vexthor for years. The alien had been one of his most trusted advisors. Another display activated, showing a Corvani military command center. At the central console stood a figure in full Corvani battle armor. When she removed her helmet, human features were revealed beneath. "War Prime Velash," the figure said with a respectful salute. "Agent Heron Bay, head of Corvani intelligence operations. It has been an honor serving under your command for 7 years." Velash stumbled backward, his scarred face turning pale. His own intelligence chief, the alien he had trusted with the Federation's most vital secrets, was human. More displays activated around the chamber. Human agents revealed themselves from positions throughout the galaxy. Government ministers, military commanders, trade officials, and scientific advisors all showed their true faces for the first time. 47 years of careful infiltration, Admiral Soyon's voice explained. Surgical modification allows our agents to perfectly mimic any species in the galaxy. Your security systems cannot detect the changes because there is nothing artificial to detect. A new voice joined the transmission. Dr. Ji-Young-yoon spoke from her laboratory on Earth, her words reaching across the galaxy. "The medical technology we shared with your worlds was not the primitive offering you believed," she said. "Every medical device, every treatment, every piece of equipment contained nanoscale machines designed for a single purpose." The chamber fell deadly silent as the implications became clear. "The nanites are completely harmless," Dr. Ji-Young continued. "They do not damage tissue, alter brain function, or cause any medical problems. They simply respond to specific activation signals." War Prime. Velash tried to move toward his weapon console. His body refused to obey. He looked down to see his arms and legs completely motionless, as if he had become a statue. Around the chamber, other aliens were discovering the same problem. The Velthari Chancellor found himself frozen in place. The crystalline Zephyrian could not move her energy fields. The insect-like Kethri clicked frantically, but could not lift their limbs. "Temporary paralysis only," Dr. Ji-Young's voice assured them. "The effect will wear off in approximately 1 hour. Consider this a demonstration, not an attack." Not every alien in the chamber was affected. Several species that had treated humanity fairly in past encounters found themselves able to move freely. They looked around in amazement as their more aggressive neighbors stood like living statues. "We are not interested in conquest or revenge," Admiral Soyon said. "We are interested in respect and equal treatment. The species that showed humanity kindness have nothing to fear from us." Colonel Taewon opened his briefcase fully for the first time. Instead of documents, it contained technology that made the aliens' most advanced computers look like stone tools. Holographic interfaces appeared in the air around him as he began accessing systems throughout the station. "Station defense grid is under our control," he reported calmly. "All weapon systems have been safely disabled. Life support and artificial gravity remain fully functional." "How?" Chancellor Thexmore managed to ask, though his body remained frozen. "Your computer systems are impressive," Taewon replied. "But they are still based on principles we mastered decades ago. Every alien system we have encountered uses variations of the same basic programming structures." Dr. Yoonji finally looked up from her tablet, which had been doing far more than taking notes. "Quantum processing allows us to break any encryption in seconds. Your firewalls might as well be made of paper." The displays around the chamber changed again, showing human ships throughout the galaxy. But these were not the slow, clumsy vessels. the aliens had observed. These ships moved with impossible speed and grace, their hulls reflecting technologies that surpassed anything in known space. Our real fleet consists of 10,000 combat vessels, Admiral Soyon explained. Each one is capable of disabling entire alien battle groups without suffering damage. We have been testing them against your forces for years. Testing? Warprime Velash growled, still unable to move. Every ship that disappeared in the outer systems, Do-hyun said with a slight smile. Every probe that malfunctioned near human space. Every communication relay that suffered mysterious failures. We have been studying your technology, learning your weaknesses, and preparing for this moment. New images filled the displays. Human factories hidden in asteroid fields, producing ships and weapons at impossible rates. Human research stations developing technologies that rewrote the laws of physics. Human training facilities where soldiers practiced combat against holographic alien forces. The consciousness transfer arrays are particularly interesting, Dr. Ji-young said from Earth. Instead of destroying enemy ships, we can simply transfer their crews to comfortable holding facilities. No one dies, but the threat is completely neutralized. Reality manipulation engines allow us to alter local physics, Admiral Soyon added. We can disable your weapons by making gunpowder refuse to ignite. We can stop your ships by increasing their local gravity. We can even make your armor as soft as cloth. The paralyzed aliens listened in growing horror as humanity revealed technology that belonged in fantasy stories, not real warfare. But the most important weapon we possess, Do-hyun said, walking toward the center of the chamber, is patience. We could have revealed ourselves at any time in the last 50 years. We could have conquered your worlds while you slept. Instead, we waited. Waited for what? The Zephyrian managed to whisper. For this moment, Do-hyun replied. For the chance to offer you something better than conquest. The opportunity to choose cooperation over domination. Admiral Soyon's voice filled the chamber one final time. The old galaxy is ending today. You can choose to be part of the new one, or you can choose to stand against it. But you cannot choose to ignore it. Around the galaxy, alien leaders faced the same impossible reality. Humanity was not the weak species they had planned to exploit. Humanity was the most advanced civilization the galaxy had ever seen. And they were offering peace. The council chamber remained frozen in time, with most aliens unable to move while a few watched in amazement. The silence stretched for long minutes as the reality sank in. Everything they thought they knew about the galaxy had changed in a single moment. Director Minho Choi appeared on the main display, speaking from his command center deep beneath Earth. His gray hair and calm expression made him look like any ordinary government official, but his words carried the weight of galactic transformation. Honored members of the Galactic Council, he began, I am Director Minho Choi of Human Global Defense Command. What you have witnessed today is not an attack. It is an invitation. Warprime Velash struggled against the nanites, holding his body motionless. Invitation to what? Surrender to human rule? Invitation to equality, Minho replied simply. For thousands of years, this galaxy has operated on the principle that strong species rule weak ones. Today, that ends. Around the chamber, the few aliens who could still move began to understand why they had been spared. These were the species that had treated humanity with basic respect during first contact. The ones who had offered fair trade agreements instead of exploitation. The ones who had never laughed at human struggles. Ambassador Thalok of the peaceful Andromi stepped forward carefully. His people had always been kind to humans, sharing knowledge freely and asking for nothing in return. What exactly are you proposing? Thalok asked, his voice steady despite the chaos around him. Do-hyun walked to the center of the chamber, no longer the nervous diplomat, but clearly someone who had been planning this moment for decades. "Simple terms," he said. "Immediate recognition of human sovereignty over all claimed territories, end of all taxation and exploitation agreements, establishment of mutual trade relationships based on fair exchange. And if we refuse?" "Chancellor," Thexmore managed to ask through frozen lips. "Then you refuse," Do-hyun replied with a shrug. "We will not force you to trade with us. We will not demand tribute from your worlds. We will simply defend ourselves and any species that requests our protection." Dr. Yunji stood up from her corner seat, her tablet now displaying information that made several conscious aliens gasp. "Every oppressed species in the galaxy has been sending us messages for years. They thought we were too weak to help them. They were wrong." The displays around the chamber changed to show communications from dozens of smaller species. Worlds that had been conquered by the major powers, used as slave labor, or forced to give up their resources. All of them had secretly contacted humanity, hoping for some kind of help. "The colony asked us to help them regain their homeworld 3 years ago," Dr. Yunji said, reading from her tablet. "The Voth begged us to stop Corvani raids on their colonies. The Nexari sent us detailed reports of Velthari strip mining operations, destroying their sacred sites. We told them we were too weak to help," Do-hyun added. "We lied to them too. But that ends today." Admiral Soyeon's voice returned to the chamber speakers. "Human patrol fleets are already moving to protect every species that has requested our aid. Any attack on these worlds will be considered an attack on humanity itself." Warprime Velash's scarred face twisted with rage. "You cannot police the entire galaxy!" "We do not want to police the galaxy," Admiral Soyeon replied. "We want the galaxy to police itself. But if you choose to continue the old ways of conquest and exploitation, you will find us standing in your path." Slowly, very slowly, the paralyzed aliens began to regain movement as the nanites completed their demonstration cycle. Chancellor Thexmore flexed his metallic fingers, testing his restored mobility. "This is madness," he said, his 3 eyes blazing with fury. "You think a single species can stand against the combined might of the galaxy?" Colonel Taewon looked up from his equipment, data streams flowing across holographic displays around him. "Combined might assumes cooperation. Our intelligence suggests most species will choose adaptation over conflict." Agent Heron Bay's voice came through the communication system from Corvani space. "Warprime, I regret to inform you that the Federation High Command has voted to accept human terms. The vote was unanimous after they reviewed our actual military capabilities." Velash staggered as if struck. His own military commanders had surrendered without consulting him. The Velthari Council has reached the same conclusion, Agent Kyu-hyun Lim reported from the Velthari homeworld. "Chancellor, your government extends an invitation to humanity for formal diplomatic relations between equals." More reports flooded in from across the galaxy. One by one, the major powers announced their acceptance of the new reality. Some did so with grace, others with barely controlled rage, but all of them chose pragmatism over pride. "The Zephyrian Trade Union formally recognizes human sovereignty," came another voice. "The Kethri Collective accepts the new diplomatic framework. The Nexari Republic requests immediate human protection from Velthari mining operations." The chamber filled with voices as species throughout the galaxy responded to humanity's revelation. Most chose cooperation. A few chose isolation. None chose war. Chancellor Thexmore looked around the chamber at his fellow aliens, seeing his old world crumbling before his eyes. "How long?" he asked quietly. "How long have you been planning this?" "Since the day your ships first appeared over Earth," Do-hyun replied. "We knew that eventually we would face this choice, serve or rule. We chose a third option, which is to serve those who need protection and rule those who would do harm," Dr. Yunji said, closing her tablet. Your species will be judged by your actions from this point forward, not your past ones. Director Minho's image on the main display shifted to show the command center around him. Humans worked alongside beings from dozens of species, all wearing the same uniforms, all working toward the same goals. This is what we offer, Minho said. A galaxy where species are judged by their character, not their military strength. Where trade is based on mutual benefit, not exploitation. Where the strong protect the weak instead of preying on them. And if we refuse? WarPrime Velash asked, though his voice had lost its earlier confidence. Then you refuse, Admiral Soyon replied. You can return to your worlds and live as you always have, but you cannot force others to live the same way. The age of galactic bullying is over. Ambassador Thalok of the Andromi stepped forward again. On behalf of my people, I formally accept this new framework. The Andromi have always believed in peaceful cooperation. Other voices joined him. Species that had been oppressed by the Major. Powers spoke up for the first time in centuries. Worlds that had been forced into unfair agreements declared their independence. The chamber filled with the sound of a galaxy transforming itself. Colonel Taiwan packed up his equipment, the demonstration complete. Human forces will begin regular patrols tomorrow. Any species may contact us directly if they face aggression. From others. He placed a small device on the podium at the center of the chamber. Quantum communicator, direct line to human command, available to any species that needs help. Do-hyun looked around the chamber one final time. This was never about conquest. It was about creating a galaxy where every species can choose its own path without fear. WarPrime Velash, his pride broken but his intelligence intact, gave a grudging nod. Perhaps it is time for a new way. Chancellor Thexmore's metallic features showed something that might have been respect. You could have destroyed us all. We still could, Dr. Yunji said quietly. But we choose not to. Every day we will continue to choose not to. That is what makes us different. The three humans walked toward the exit, their mission complete. Behind them, aliens from across the galaxy began the long process of learning to live in a universe where might did not make right. As their ship departed the station, heading back to Earth, Do-hyun activated his communicator one final time. Admiral Kang, mission accomplished. The galaxy is ready for a new beginning. Copy that, Ambassador. Welcome to the future. In the darkness of space, human ships began their patrols, watching over worlds that had never known protection. The galaxy had learned that humanity's greatest weapon was not their technology or their military might. It was their choice to use that power to protect rather than conquer. The age of human guardianship had begun.